Welcome to the Foothills, a Colorado lifestyle and real estate podcast featuring mountain home real estate broker Robert Martin, who has over 25 years of experience assisting clients reach their goals and move forward. Tune in each week for a dynamic conversation with experts, Colorado adventurers, and residents that explores the ins, outs, and specific nuances of buying the perfect mountain home or selling your dream home in Evergreen, Conifer, Bailey, and surrounding areas to catch a glimpse into the Colorado lifestyle that's a part of you.
Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for jumping on today. We've got Kelly Moye as a guest. Kelly, how are you today?
I am so good. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for jumping on. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kelly, and your background?
Sure. So I've been a realtor for 31 years. I basically started right out of college. I am one of those odd people that knew they wanted to be a realtor since they were a little kid. Most people want to be realtors after their kids are grown or after their first or second career. But my mom was a realtor and her dad was a realtor. And so I kind of came from realtor families. And, when I was little, I thought it was fun to appraise people's houses. I would do that for fun instead of painting, with my friends, or I would put up for sale signs all around the neighborhood when I was a teenager, sort of to be a little naughty. And, those were the things that I was into because I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so as soon as I graduated college, I went into the business. So that's slightly unusual, but I'm so glad that I did because it's been a blast the whole time.
Yeah, you're so right, Kelly. Most people matriculate to the business from somewhere else. I was a radio announcer for about 10 years. And, you meet people from all different walks of life, people that were educators and different things. So your path is very unique, but you had a reason, you had some impetus from your parents, you're moving forward that way. So.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is that I not only saw the good, but I saw the ugly too. I remember delivering Broncos keychains in a snowstorm at nighttime in the back of my mom's station wagon and jumping off and doing them, sending them out to her farm when we were little kids. Or, I remember her working Saturdays and Sundays, and I saw the hard part too, in addition to the good part. And in the end, I decided I liked it all. So it is unusual, but it's funny. I used to be a disc jockey myself.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. So
you're locally?
Oh yeah. Just in college. In college.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Just for the college radio station, which no one listens to anyway. So,
no,
or at
that
least
was fun.
They didn't back then, and they certainly don't now. But then
back in the day when we had discs, we
had actual radio,
the turntables and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we had turntables and phones that people called in on to request songs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. And then the other part of my world is I'm a group fitness instructor at Lifetime. So I kind of do that as a stress relief, to balance out the real estate stuff.
That's good. That's good balance. It's so important to have that. And one thing you mentioned, Kelly, is knowing kind of an overall perspective of the real estate business, seeing it from different perspectives is very helpful when you get into it. I think a lot of people, when they start in the business, it's good to know what the good and the bad and the ugly, so to speak. And you can weigh all of that and you're coming in with a really good perspective on things. So what's it like for you, Kelly, with your background as a disc jockey, to be the media spokesman for the Colorado Association of Realtors?
It's so fun. It's like during college, I wanted to be a journalist. And then it wasn't until I really realized that I'd always wanted to do real estate, and that the journalism, while it was interesting, was not really where I wanted to go, and graduated and ended up going right into real estate. But it is always something that I've loved to do. And so it's, in a way, putting the two together, which is great. Initially, I was asked to be a spokesperson, and I was a little bit reticent because it is very stat driven. I mean, the point of being a spokesperson is to be able to take all the stats for the state of Colorado and all the different counties, analyze them, determine what is happening in each county, and then be able to report on it accurately. And I never really thought I was a stat person, so that intimidated me a bit. And I thought, I am not good at reading these, at interpreting them. I'm better at relational stuff. But I agreed to do it knowing that it was going to force me to learn how to do it. And I'm glad I did, because it took a little while, but eventually I got pretty good at reading all the stats and seeing through the numbers and trying to figure out what was happening in each market. And each month I have to write a press release to all the media outlets, radio, TV, all the newspapers, that shows you what's happening in each market. So in essence, I'm just learning, I'm staying on top of my market, all of the counties in Colorado, and I feel like I know them a lot better than I did before I did that job. So, and then it's fun doing TV and radio stuff and meeting all the journalists, and they're very interesting and lovely people. And so it's been a blast. It's been really a neat part of my job.
Yeah, I think it would be hard not to learn something, having access to all of that information statistically, kind of seeing some, different variations in different parts of the state, and then also helping your own business. I'm sure that, I believe I saw you on a piece during the Marshall Fire on one of the channels locally. So I think it's very needed, and especially we do hear a lot of stuff in the media, but sometimes it sends people into a tailspin because there's a lot of fear and uncertainty. But to have really have statistics that kind of prove what's going on is very helpful. So I appreciate you doing that. That sounds really cool.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you. I think it's really important. The whole reason that is through the Colorado Association of Realtors, and the whole reason that CAR started this program was so that as realtors, we would become the voice of real estate for the media, instead of them reaching out to Zillow, Case-Shiller, any random realtor out there, Redfin, Realtor.com. Back like 3 or 4 years ago, you used to see them quote those companies all the time. And now you just don't. It's always, Kelly Moye from the Association of Realtors, or Matt Leprino from the Association of Realtors. So the idea is that they're calling the association to get real data. So that's a huge win for us as a realtor community, because the information that they're getting is right. And, we had I had someone the other day call to run a story about how people were moving out of Colorado because they didn't like the politics, and they wanted me to talk about that. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing that. I haven't seen it personally. I haven't heard it from any of my colleagues. It's not something that we track, and I'm just not experiencing that at all. And they actually came and brought the crew and did the whole interview and everything. And then in the end ended up not running the story. And sometimes I think that stopping a story is just as successful as one that you report on, because that was a story that, in my opinion, probably needed to be stopped, that it would create some panic that didn't need to be created. And I didn't think it was accurate, at least not for anywhere near where I'm selling real estate. So it was interesting. I actually think that was successful in that we didn't make it on the air. And sometimes those are things that you don't see, but they matter.
Yeah, well, part of it too is just your intuitive sense for what's going on, and your experience level and your knowledge. You get a sense you're well connected. Is that a viable story? And you don't know where it came from and what the source was. To validate that. And there is a lot of different types of information. A lot of people call it misinformation or disinformation, but that's good. And that's a good point, Kelly, to kind of take care of it ahead of time.
Yeah,
so to speak.
Take care of it ahead of time so that everybody doesn't go and talk about it when they don't need to talk about it. So
for sure.
So I find it a really amazing position. I'm really honored to do it because I think it's important, really important. So I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
I think it's very important. If people want to go there, Kelly, what's the best place? Can they watch, some of your broadcasts, or can they go to a specific place if they want to catch it after it airs, that sort of thing?
Yeah, they can go to the Colorado Association of Realtors website, coloradorealtors.com. Okay. And they put a lot of our media coverage right there on their website. So you can watch stories that have already happened. So yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Well, moving from one media vessel to another, what was it like being on HGTV?
It was exhausting. It was hard. It was fun, but it was 6 weeks of filming from 8 to 5 every day. And that's like being on jury duty or something. Like you don't get to do anything else. I mean, your job is on hold. I didn't really realize what a time commitment it would be. It was definitely fun to be on it. At the end, the finished product was pretty cool, but it took literally 6 weeks to film a 42-minute television show, and that was kind of crazy. I've had some great exposure from it. And
What was it about specifically? Was it about you? Was it? I didn't see the episode. Was it about?
Yeah, it's always about the buyers who are looking for something. And it's kind of a funny story. I met my clients. I just got a phone call from them saying that they wanted to find ranch property with like goats and llamas and privacy and acreage. And I pictured, I don't know, kind of like country folk, So I go to meet them at a house in Meade, and they show up in a black big truck, and they're both wearing all black leather. They're both completely made up, kind of goth and punk, and they're hilarious. They were not anything what you'd picture two people who want to live out in the country would look like. And they ended up being wonderful friends of mine and terrific people. They actually are singers in that 80s band. And I don't know if you ever go to hear music here in the Front Range, but that 80s band is a very popular cover 80s band. And that's them. Well, HGTV picked up on them and me because I've done other HGTV stuff before. And they love the idea of this like goth punk looking couple trying to buy a house out in the country. And they thought it would make a good story. And it did. It was really cute. It actually ended up being a really good show.
That is very interesting. It's not when you put those pieces together, possibly, but I'm sure that was a great story.
It was a fun story.
So you received the Titan Award in 2017 and the Circle of Legends Award in 2018. Tell me about that.
That was really cool. I am not a big awards girl. It's just not something I don't get motivated by it, and I just don't look at it and watch for it. But those are two really big honors by the company that I was with previously. And so I'm really, really honored to have gotten those. But I think it's nice to be honored for those because it kind of makes you feel like all that hard work that you've done and those crazy nights that you stayed up till midnight to work, or the concert that you missed because you were working on negotiating a contract, was all worth it. But in the end, that's it's not something that really motivates me, but it was nice to get, because I know that at least the Titan Award is not one that is given out very often. So that was pretty special. I like that. Yeah. Yeah,
that's great. And I don't sense that is that important to you, Kelly, but I think just to have that, there's an awareness that, you worked hard and it's an accolade or an acknowledgement that, hey, you missed the concert, like you said.
Yeah, I missed the concert, but somebody noticed, that
somebody noticed. Yeah.
It always feels nice when you're an independent contractor that somebody notices,
Yeah, for sure.
So you have to every once in a while think that's kind of nice that there are people who are paying attention. So yeah.
A lot of times too, Kelly, we do things without expectation. That's just who we are. We do things, we facilitate a transaction. We want it to move forward. And sometimes we make decisions that we feel would make it, help it continue to move forward.
Right.
With in a way that would benefit the parties moving forward so they can achieve their objective. Yeah. And sometimes we just do that innately as far as, you've been doing it for so long, it probably just second nature, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when clients ask you, how's the real estate market today, Kelly? I know we get that question all the time.
Yeah.
How do you respond to that?
Kind of depends on what part of the market you're in. The buyers who ask me that, I will tell them, well, in general, as an overview, the market absolutely is shifting and has shifted, adjusted quicker than any of us have probably ever seen before, at least in my career. I mean, usually in all the ups and downs, and I think I've worked through about 4 of them since 1990, it's taken 2, 3, 4, even 5 years to get there. It took that long to get there when the recession happened. It took that long to come out of it. It took that long in the end of the 90s to kind of cool off at 2001. Everything kind of goes in a flow where you sort of have a chance to get used to it, to prepare for it, to adjust for it. And this year, everything just happened so quickly that I think all of us are sort of reeling by what the market looks like now. So I usually explain that it absolutely shifted, but in a way that is necessary, in my opinion. I mean, what we had was completely unsustainable, completely for everybody, for realtors, buyers, even for sellers, it was unsustainable. And so I think it needed to be adjusted. It just was a bit of a slap in the face at how quickly it happened. But from a buyer's perspective, especially at this moment, meaning the winter time right before the holidays, there's no better time to buy than right now. The sellers are so motivated and they're so freaked out, and people are giving concessions to help you buy down that rate, which eliminates that objection. And there are a lot of good deals to be had at the moment. And from a seller's perspective, I just explained you just made so much money in the last couple of years, and it might have reduced a little bit in the last couple of months, and you've got to be realistic about pricing, but it's still a really strong market. I mean, the market where I am, which is mainly Boulder and Broomfield County, I'm just looking at my stats that I pulled up this morning. Our average days on the market's 33. That's still a seller's market. That's nowhere near a buyer's market. It's not even near a balanced market. Our prices have gone up 10% since January, 17% for townhomes and condos. So if you're a seller, you're doing fine. You just need to price properly, meaning literally use comps in the last 60 days and no farther back than that. And you'll sell within a month or so, maybe less, and you'll do just fine. So I actually think this market works really well for both parties, as long as people recognize that it's shifted, but it needed to shift. And it actually is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think your analysis is spot on. You know, the speed at which things changed, people were stunned, a lot of uncertainty and doubt, and people were kind of waiting to see what happens. You know, they lost some net worth, so in some cases a lot. And it's like, whoa, I think I'm going to pull back a bit. Some people displaced because the rates did go up, but now they're really not able to purchase, depending upon, kind of where they're at financially. So yeah, you're so right, Kelly. It is a market that's still robust, still strong for sellers. It's just reminding them that, and I'm hopeful that we will, buyers and sellers will embrace when we move into the new year. The market is what it is, and even if we go back to 2019 or so, rates were in the fives. So it's not that extraordinary. It's just that we had this period of time during the pandemic where things were extraordinary. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see that again.
I doubt it. I doubt it. I wonder. And I think that's true. You go from such an extreme to then you swing so quickly to something else that there's bound to be some growing pains in that, because nothing is you're not able to kind of assimilate it. But I've even noticed that now my buyers are kind of getting comfortable with their 6.5% to 7.5% interest rate. They're running the numbers with the right rate and they're adjusting accordingly. And then the prices are coming down and they're able to kind of come up a little. And it's we just need a little time to adjust. And I think it will be okay.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I think if you're staying locally, if you're buying, maybe you're downsizing, on the buying end, there might be a little bit better value for you. Your home price may not be where you wanted it to be the first of the year, but we're not there anymore. We are where we are.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good point, Kelly. And I think that's part of what we do, is to educate or to inform and to assist people to have an understanding, whether it's information you provide or statistically, or just getting a sense for things, because there is a lot of stuff that may not be accurate, maybe 2 months old or that sort of thing, or maybe a little bit too pessimistic. So
yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of that has to do with what we read and hear on the media, and that they kind of make things maybe like a little bit more exaggerated than they are, because things are not bad for sellers or buyers right now. You just have to adapt and kind of pivot and adjust to where it is. But in general, it doesn't look terrible. Inventory is still low. The buyer demand is still high, not for it's winter. So we always have a lower buyer demand in the winter, but in general, and our local economy and our job market's still good. So when you look at all of those things, we don't really have any part of it that is about to explode and cause a big problem. So hopefully people will feel fairly optimistic about that.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. That's what we're moving. And I think it's happening before our eyes. It just,
Yeah.
that's the way it traditionally works.
Yeah.
So Kelly, you do sell a fair amount of luxury homes and work with all different types of people, I'm sure. When you are selling luxury homes, what commonalities do you see when working with clients that may differentiate those buying and selling luxury homes? I'm sure you treat them all the same.
Yeah.
But, you mentioned the couple you worked with that were buying the farm ground or the ranch property. That sounded very interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. I tell my team and I tell myself all the time is sometimes when you get a real high-end buyer, a high-end listing, I don't know, you tend to feel a little bit nervous, like, wow, is this such a big deal? Like I really have to knock it out of the park on this one. And actually I always just say, you're just adding a couple zeros. Everything is the same. The marketing campaign we do is the same. The way you treat your clients is the same. They all have the same concerns, worries, fears, hopes, goals. All you do is add a couple zeros to it. So if you can remember that your higher end properties, those people are just people too. And it's just a house, just like any house. It's not any different. And all the same things need to apply just like you would do for anybody. I don't think there's anything necessarily totally different. Although I do think that with our higher end clients, there are some differences that I'm really stereotyping here because not everybody's the same. But I find that most of my high-end buyers are coming from all over the world instead of locally. So I need to be aware of their culture and the way they negotiate and the language they speak and the time difference where they are and the way they do finances, because financing is different when you're not in Colorado or even in the United States. And, if you're going to buy a $5 million home and you're paying with cash, and you're coming from Denmark, then things are a little different than if you're buying with a conventional loan here in Louisville, Colorado. So I do think that there are some nuances to understanding. I say Denmark because I just had some clients do that very exact thing, and they're lovely people, and I've loved meeting them. But their culture there was different, and the way that they negotiated was different. And the way that even they wire funds is different, and it takes longer. So there are some nuances like that you need to be aware of so that you don't mess anything up. But in the end, everybody's just wanting the same thing, a beautiful place to live. And you're just adding a couple zeros on the higher end stuff.
Yeah, you're right. The contract is the same. Everything we do
Contract's the same.
contractually as real estate brokers.
Yeah.
But that's a really good point, Kelly, is awareness of trying to educate yourself, or at least ask really good questions so you have a better understanding of the process to make it as seamless as you can for anybody. And that's a great way to, if it is different, that's a good example coming from Denmark, and, the timing of the wire might be slower, and different things like that. Just have an understanding, because you want it to, you don't want them to feel, you want them to feel comfortable moving forward, and you want it to go as smoothly as possible. So
exactly.
It's a really good point.
So there's just kind of little things like that. But I don't think that someone that can afford a $5 million house is any different than someone that can afford a $500,000 house. They all want the same thing. They all need the same care, and that's all the same. It's just the little nuances of making sure that you're taking care of specific things where they might be coming from, or how they're used to negotiating. For example, I have some clients right now from Texas, so that's not that far away, right? But they just bought a high-end home in the mountains of Boulder, and they're used to buying and selling big commercial properties. That's what they do for a living. So $300 million deals are what they're working on every day. So this $4 million deal is nothing to them, because it's just not, it's a small thing in their portfolio for what they do. And so they kind of negotiate differently. They're not very emotional because they're so used to just doing so many deals of multifamily and commercial deals that it's normal for them. So I had to kind of adjust the way that I showed them the house and the way that I related to them to make sure I was a little bit more factual. And I gave things in Excel spreadsheets as opposed to talking about how beautiful the deck was and they could invite their friends over. They don't, that's just not the way that they are. And so I think it's just like anyone that you adjust according to their personalities, and paying attention to what those people do in their world will help you figure out how to negotiate for them in this world.
Yeah, that's a great mantra, Kelly. I mean, everybody does roll differently, but to understand, how they process information, and I'm sure everyone, everyone's an individual, and they want to be treated with respect, and but they also, want to be successful in what they're doing. Over the years, Kelly, have you seen? Obviously, we've seen changes in social media. It's become a much bigger part of what we do as real estate brokers. I'm still an old curmudgeon somewhat with that. I'm trying to embrace it and become authentic.
Are you embracing it?
It's, I'd like to. That's kind of, what I'm going to try to do next year, but in doing videos. But how have you done that? And I know it's important to market our homes, and people, they want to know who you are. And, that if they see Kelly, you don't have to. Generally, a lot of times you don't have to be talking about real estate. They just want to know, gosh, what do you do? What you do on the weekend? And not that you had, peanut butter and jelly for lunch, but
yeah, I'm not going to take pictures of my food.
Yeah, no. Me neither. But who are you, and what you do? So how have you embraced the social media aspect?
Okay, I like social media. I'm not on it as much as everyone says you're supposed to be, mainly because I can't come up with enough ideas. Honestly, transparently, it's just hard to come up with stuff. And also because I don't believe in putting in anything that is not highly professional, very elegant, super classy. I'm not going to air my personal stuff, and I'm not going to send like an ugly picture of myself. Like, I'm just not going to do it. I want someone, if they pull up, social media and look at every single thing I posted, it should look very Compass, very classy, totally professional, every single thing that I say and I do. And so I'm pretty intent on making sure that happens, that I don't just post random stuff, that everything that I post is meaningful. However, I would like to post more because I think it's good marketing, but as it relates to luxury marketing, honestly, I don't think buyers and sellers are looking at my social media and deciding to work with me because of it. I don't think that's where they get that from. I think that there's exposure that happens subconsciously, where they pull up Instagram and they're scrolling through and they happen to see one of my videos or something, and then they keep scrolling and the name sticks. So I think the reason why I market on social media is for that, we'll call it that subliminal exposure. But I don't think anybody's I've never had anyone call me and say, I'd love to work with you. I love the video that you just did. I get that. It's never happened. So maybe I need to work on it. But I do think that from a luxury perspective, for me at Compass, it's the networking with my other Compass brokers in Boulder that is the biggest bang for my buck, because it is getting my listing out to all of those people, and they pay attention and they bring their buyers, and 9 times out of 10, they're the ones that sell it. It's that network there is the best marketing that I have. It's way better than social media. But that being said, I have decided to start doing, I've done 4 so far. These, how do I describe? I'm going to say kind of very high-end, really classy videos with a professional videographer. So it's not me, with my phone. It's not like that. And they're exactly 58 seconds. So they're right under a minute, so that they're perfect for social media. They're very quick. Everybody likes to watch them because they're quick. There's a part of them that I've started to make a little bit funny. And I got so many likes on this video when I first started doing it, that I've kept the theme of it going through all of the 4 that I've done. And then every time I do one, I get more and more likes and attention and shares and feedback. And the other day I was in a listing appointment, and I know I'm competing against one other person. And I showed her the video and I said, this is something that we do at Compass. It's different from anybody else. And she just looked at it and said, I've never seen anything like that. I mean, that's awesome. And I got the listing, I think, because of that video. So I might have to restate my thoughts on the social media thing, but the point being is that I think it's useful, but what you put on there has to be so well thought out and really good that, that you're very proud of it. And that's where I think it helps you get some exposure. Does that?
Well, it's it's authentic. It's who you are. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't seem like the type of person that's just going to throw something out there. You're going to put thought into it, and you're going to make sure that it resonates with who you are, and it has congruency. And then when you feel comfortable, you put it out there, and look what happens. So next year,
I know that the video
more of those.
The video was fun. I'm going to keep doing them. And the fun part about it, and this may be something for all of you, whoever is listening out there to try, is that come up with something that's just you, like in every video of your listing, you're always wearing the cowboy hat, or you always have your kid. Or for me, it's the joke kind of about it is that I want something in the video and I snap my fingers and I get it. So I want to see a mountain view. I snap my fingers and get it. I want a glass of wine on the patio. I snap my fingers and it just shows up. It's like it's just a little thing. It's just funny.
That's cool.
Now
it's like,
now that people know it, it's actually becoming kind of a thing.
So when you go to somebody's house, we'll say, we would like to sell your home. Click your fingers and
snap my fingers.
There you go.
It's done. It's done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you're established broker, and with your reputation and what you've done over the years, having that network is really, really important. Not just the Compass brokers, I'm sure, but it's everyone all the brokers you work with in Boulder and even the metropolitan area, everybody you've met over the years.
So many good agents in so many different companies that are amazing around here. We have a lot. I don't think people realize how many great agents we have here in that Denver metro area compared to other places. Some of our top agents in the country are all here. So you're absolutely right. It's not just Compass, it's all the good ones. Yeah.
And you're right. There's so many of them, and they work hard to be the very best they can. And they, that's what we try to do, I guess. Right. So Kelly, let's say I was buying a home in the foothills, and I know you've sold many homes over the years in the foothills. It's a little bit of a different area. What are some of the things that you advise your client, or that you kind of oversee the transaction that's important in that type of a transaction?
Yeah. There are just a few things that are different about, our foothills properties, and they're not quite as mountainous as maybe where you are. I mean, you'd have to kind of go way up in Netherland to maybe get that, but we'll call it the close-in mountains of Boulder. You've got a few canyons that go up from Boulder as you go up and you get into the more mountainous areas, but things that people don't think about when they're buying in town. The first one that comes to mind is the sun, because the sun is huge. Sure. And the sun goes down quicker in the mountains because it's going to go back behind the Flatirons there. And you're in the shade a lot sooner than you think. So it depends on what side of the street you're on as to whether you get sun. And so depending on what time of day you're looking at homes, you may not realize that where you live, the sun goes down at 2:30 in the afternoon. And that may be a problem. That may be kind of depressing to not have sun. And then in the summer, the sun will go down at 5 instead of 8 because it goes back behind the mountains. So if sun is important to the buyers, sunlight and that kind of thing, I really explain to them, we need to go back to these homes multiple different times of days. And I want you to watch when the sun goes down. One of them that I was selling, that I'm currently selling, I went up yesterday to go to the house right at 4 to take a video to show them exactly when the sun went over the mountain and make sure they were comfortable with that, because you buy outside of the mountains, you get an extra hour or maybe 45 minutes. But it's important to some people and their mental health, as to whether they have sun. Then
that's a very good point, Kelly. I know some people don't take that into consideration. What kind of snow melt are you going to have? What's your driveway? What kind of exposure do you have?
What kind of exposure? Is your driveway going to be all in the snow?
Yeah, for sure. And that's all right. My wife is a sun freak, and I guess I am too. We love the sun, and we have a property that's south facing, so we get sun all day long.
Yes,
but that is so very important. And I don't think buyers may be so tied up in other things, they're not really cognizant of that. And I know there are some brokers that's not at their mind awareness, but that's a great point. So
it's just something that will make them happy or potentially unhappy in the future.
for
They
sure.
didn't even realize. And
6 months
so
down the road, they're like, Kelly,
wait a
we're sitting
second.
here
I
and
don't like living in
we
the
got all this
mountains.
ice. What's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, because you're on the wrong side of the valley,
Yeah.
or whatever. So the sun is important, snow removal is important, and who does it and who maintains the roads. The roads are a huge thing that you don't have to worry about in town. The roads are going to be maintained by the city, but up in the canyons, there are only some parts maintained. That's a really big deal when it comes to driving, as you know, where you are. Let me think what else. Internet is just awful. It's like you can just drive 5 minutes up out of Boulder on Linden Street and you suddenly have no internet and no cell phone service. And so, and there's little spots, right? So I think
that is
as
so key. You
brokers,
could be selling that $5 million home, but they don't have internet service. So if they do, it's CenturyLink at 1.5 gigabytes, or megabytes.
yes. So if they work from home, that could really be a very big deal. If they expect to get in and be able to stream and Zoom at home, they're going to be really challenged with that. So I think an internet and understanding what you have and what you don't have is a really big deal.
Yeah, it sure is. You've got wells and septics and surveys and different things, easements like that. And you look at all of those things too.
Yep.
So it is a little bit different. So it's good to have someone like you that has that understanding going in. And I thought your point about going out and looking at the property at different times of the day is really, really great. I mean, that's great. Cool.
You just get to see. Yeah, it makes a difference in the mountains. You can look at a house in Louisville, morning or night, it's going to be the same. But in the mountains, it's not the same. Things are different when the sun goes down. And then when it comes up and the way that the road and the driveway is exposed, and it's just different.
So very, very true. Just a couple more questions, Kelly.
Yeah.
So what do you like most about living in Colorado, and what are some of your favorite outdoor activities?
I love Colorado. I've never lived anywhere else other than Italy. I went to college there, but I've never lived in any other state. So it's hard to compare, but I'm a big mountain biker and I teach group fitness inside, but then on the other days, I bike outside. So I love biking. I'm trying to get away from the technical mountain biking, which makes me injured every single time I go. So, I mean, I literally, every time I go, I come home with something bloody or something. And I'm realizing that maybe I need to tone that down a little bit, but I like biking. Biking's my thing. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Everybody's got something to do. I'm like you, Kelly. There's no other place I'd really rather live. I haven't lived in a lot of places. I lived in California, Wisconsin. I grew up in Kansas.
Oh.
And right now, all of our kids live here. There's no other place I'd rather live. We'll see where they end up. But I like to do lots of hiking and backpacking.
Yeah.
And everybody.
You live in the right place for it.
Yeah, for sure. I just jump out the door here and then walk down the hill. So
that's right.
Well, Kelly, I really appreciate your time, and the information has been valuable and very, very informative. If people wanted to learn more about you, where could they go to find more information about you?
I think my website is probably the best way, kellymoye.com. It's pretty easy. I did not set up my website as a way to search for listings and such. I know that buyers will rather go to our MLS public websites or Zillow or Redfin or elsewhere. So I didn't even try. So instead, my website is more like an about me and my team. So you can see there are videos of me. All the media stuff that I've done is on the website. I have one part of the website that seems to be pretty valuable, at least I hope, to my clients and friends. At the top of the site, there's a Kelly's list, which would be like Angie's list. That is all my vendors of everyone that I've had to use them personally. And then they get on the list. So painters, movers, handyman, contractors, etc. So I know a lot of people use the site for the list. And then you can see what listings I have and what houses I've sold and about my team and how we work. So I think that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, great resource. You can learn a lot about a person by looking at how they do a video and the experience you've had over the years. You're interviewing, or when you're on media, and all the home sales you've had. So Yeah, that's great. I like that idea. You're right. So many people do go to different websites and they get comfortable with maybe a Zillow or something when they're home searching. So that's
Right.
great. Is there anything, Kelly, that you'd like to add that we didn't cover today?
Gosh, let me think. I don't think so. I'm just so honored to be asked to talk to you today. I really am. And I don't think there's anything more to add. I thought you just had some great questions, and I hope it's helpful for those who listen to your podcast.
It certainly will be. I really appreciate it, Kelly. And thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. So good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks. Bye.
To the Foothills, a Colorado lifestyle and real estate podcast. On the podcast, I interview real estate experts, Colorado adventurers, and residents who enjoy the serenity and lifestyle of living in our mountain communities. Tune in each week for a conversation that explores the ins and outs of buying the perfect mountain home or selling your dream home, and catch a glimpse into the Colorado lifestyle that's a part of you.